Welcome to Overwatch. This time we'll be discussing McCree, the gunslinger.
Justice ain't gonna dispense itself.
In this video, we'll discuss the equipment, abilities, and the playstyle of the newly unveiled McCree. We'll take a look at how he fits into the current assault roles, and what might make the difference between a good McCree and a great one. Finally, we'll look into the story of our Lone Ranger. Happily, McCree was available to play at the February 26th hands-on event, so I can speak from my own experiences alongside the analysis of how he fits into the game. McCree is a medium to close range gunslinger, adept at fighting on his own terms. While he has limited defensive options, he also has one of the potentially highest damage outputs in the game. Mixing precise 6-shooter firing and a few surprises, this cowboy serves as a second mid-range direct assault option that the game was somewhat lacking, with only Farah to previously somewhat fulfill that role. Hanzo, Tracer and Reaper all potentially wanting to find alternate paths around the map. McCree's main weapon is his Peacekeeper, a 6-shooter that fires steady, accurate shots for high damage. This weapon reminds me of a halfway between the Ambassador and the normal revolver in Team Fortress 2. Steady, accurate shooting will reward with high damage and efficient kills. McCree comes with a surprise, however. Hold right click and McCree will manually pull the hammer to fire rapidly in an inaccurate burst. This makes fighting McCree at close range a decidedly dangerous proposition. To assist him getting around, McCree has a combat roll, a short tumble in whatever direction you're currently moving. This reminds me a lot of Unreal's dodging, short quick movements in whatever direction you want. The real kicker, however, is that the combat roll reloads McCree's weapon. The combo then becomes simple, single shots while closing the distance before combat rolling in to fire a quick flurry. This makes our gunslinger dangerous at just about any range. To further assist him, McCree can also throw a flashbang. This has a very limited range and stuns targets for 1 second in a small radius. I want to emphasize that this can only be tossed a few meters. You need to be close to what you're throwing it at, and it explodes on impact. However, I did have the pleasure of asking Jeff Kaplan himself if this could be used to disable something like Reaper's Death Blossom. The answer is yes. We'll discuss this more in a moment. Finally, we have Deadeye, McCree's ultimate. A bell tolls, tumbleweed rolls, and McCree strides around the battlefield. As he does, he establishes a lock-on to targets that he can see. Hitting fire, McCree will then shoot and kill any target he has a complete lock-on. Breaking line of sight will break the lock, and he moves slowly, and as he moves slowly, McCree can also simply be killed. Perhaps ask a friendly Reinhardt, Winston or Zarya to lend a hand in making sure you don't die. So, pick away at long range, roll in and fire a salvo. What really struck me is the notion of crowd control. However, this isn't as powerful as you'd think. Getting close to a death-blossoming Reaper isn't easy, a barraging fire is flying, and the limited range reins in some of the potential power. It also introduces an almost MOBA-esque level of counterplay. You don't fire the big channeled ultimate if someone with a stun is nearby. Similarly, you stay away from McCree unless he's thrown his flashbang. At first I can see this being very powerful, but steadily become less so as people learn to play around it. Still, it's something to keep an eye on. I personally hope crowd control is the exception, not the rule. I'm sure a lot of us remember the mess the Sandman caused when it was released in Team Fortress 2, although this is a much shorter stun than that was. McCree is also the most straightforward of the assaults. While Farah can launch up, Reaper and Tracer can both teleport, and Hanzo can climb, McCree only gets his small little tumble. This makes it important to playing with your team, and out of position McCree has the most limited escapes of all the assaults. Play McCree if you like to be rewarded for good aim. The revolver is pretty precise and can be punishing if you miss. At medium range, you have to be shooting straight. There's no room for error like with Tracer's rapid fire or Reaper's shotguns. You're a more direct combat version of Hanzo, so similar rules apply. Aim well until you can unload in a dramatic burst. You can make important decisions. McCree's two fancy tools, his flashbang and Deadeye, both require some thought before use. There's going to be the occasional angry shout of stun the Reaper after using the flashbang early, and getting function out of Deadeye requires some careful planning. It's extremely powerful but very vulnerable. As a fan of Widowmaker, I shudder imagining the satisfaction of blowing his head clean off. If you enjoy fast-paced shooting, playing McCree feels fast thanks to his combat role. Expect to be dodging left and right, firing salvos off rapidly. Going toe-to-toe with a good McCree will be an exceptionally deadly thing to do. And that you're a lover of the vigilante cowboy aesthetic. I admit I'm not, but I'm a sucker for the combination of sci-fi and anachronistic design. Makes you wonder if a duel at high noon with a cyborg arm is cheating or not. Or if he'd even care. Let's talk the story of our cowboy. I don't have the official bio available to me at the moment, but I imagine it will be on Blizzard's official site by the time this is released, so double check there if you're hungry for lore, cause I know I will be. McCree comes from a bad place. Originally an outlaw operating in the southern United States, his talents drew the eye of Overwatch while they were still in operation. Instead of imprisoning or taking down the talented gunslinger, they made an offer to take him in, as a member of Blackwatch, Overwatch's less public face. Within Blackwatch, McCree was offered a little more freedom to operate how he'd like compared to a normal Overwatch agent, while also finding his cynical nature steadily eroded and replaced by optimism and a belief that maybe change can be made. Now on his own, McCree continues where he left off, dispensing vigilante justice as he travels. McCree is our anti-hero, our scoundrel with a heart of gold, our Han Solo or Wolverine. Someone willing to use less than clean methods to do good things. Naturally, just like Han Solo, McCree is the type of person who would always shoot first. McCree contrasts well with Tracer in my opinion. They could play strongly off each other. The jaded cynic and the youthful optimist could be a strong pairing every now and then. Of course, McCree's no-nonsense gallows justice methods may sit poorly with the more noble characters of Overwatch, but if it's proven effective, it becomes difficult to doubt the results. After all, a dead man can't commit any more crimes. Unless you're a lawyer. After this post-PAX frenzy of glorious new information, we'll be getting back to where we left off with Curebjorn, who I still can't pronounce. In the interim, I may revisit Tracer, as it was my first video and with hands-on experience it can probably be improved in several ways. For now, thanks for watching. I am but one channel amongst many, and I hope you learned a little about McCree. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do, like, sub, all that fluff. As I've played him, I'll also be happy to try and answer questions in the comments. Special thanks to those of you who have been supportive of my recent coverage. I'm glad to be helpful and contribute in my own little way. Toodles!